Now she married, of course. She was married to Henry II,
Yes.
and that made her part of the House of Plantagenet in medieval England.
That's right. Henry's father actually founded the house. The Angevins founded the Plantagenet house, and it went on until I think Richard III died at the battle Bosworth Field. I think the Tudors took over at that point. So. The War of the Roses. Well,
War of
I
the
should
Roses,
say.
I think.
Yeah,
I think
so
it was.
sad. But anywho, it went on a long time. But it started with Henry and Eleanor, pretty much.
Yes.
Henry had to regain England. Henry's quite a character. That's the next book.
Oh,
Feet of Fire. Yes, I
Good.
love him. Oh, they're electric. She gets to meet him at the end of the book, and they just steal the show from my mind. I was just fascinated to watch them interact. These characters, I would love to teleport myself back in time and see if they're anything at all the way I imagine them. I hope so. Of course, we don't really know.
Well, you didn't know them.
No, I feel like I know them. That's what's so funny. I live with them all the time in my head. I feel like I know them, but technically I didn't. Yes.
Christy, I feel like I'm in a minority here because I have not read your books, but
No worries.
I loved what you read, and I'm looking forward to. I have a question for you about your writing. I'm curious about the role of biography in terms of your inspiration and sort of how do you use biography of history, and then sort of if you could talk about your process a little bit.
Absolutely. That's a really good question, because this is, it's always a question of how do you go back this far in time and have anything at all to do with what really happened. It's so long ago. And I don't read Latin. I never went and got my master's, so I don't read original primary sources. So I am using a lot of secondary sources, biographers, taking different biographers' perspectives of Eleanor and all of her sons and her husband, and and so you take what they say. I take what they say, and then since it's fiction, I have a lot of leeway, so I can feel what my character agrees with and doesn't agree with. Now, of course, how far away we get from history, I honestly don't know, but I can look and see what are considered the facts of the time, and then I fill in the gaps, because there are a lot of gaps. And with Eleanor, it's interesting because even as strong of a woman as she was, people who wrote about her in relation to the men in her life, her father occasionally, but her husbands, Henry II and her son, Richard the Lionhearted, and her first husband, Louis. Though Eleanor is always breaking through these chains, you can still see her in the midst of these descriptions, many of them written by people who weren't particularly fond of her. She would say written by her enemies, so I guess I should be just as blunt as she is. People who really did not wish her well and who constantly spoke ill of her. I mean, the enemy factions in Paris when she was queen had her taking all sorts of lovers. I mean, I don't even know if she met all these men. I mean, it was just a bunch of nonsense. But this is what is written down as history. And of course now in the modern day, we look at it and say, now obviously we have to take with a grain of salt, what people said, and kind of look back and add our own perspective, really. I think there's no way to look at history without ourselves being imposed on it. So I'm proud of the way she's come to me. I love her. So I'm glad to reclaim a little of her reputation and to give her credit where I think it is due. I think she was one of the most amazing women to live, certainly in Western Europe, and certainly during, for at least 1,000 years. Not that I'm biased or anything, mind you. I've written 2 books about her, but anyway, I think she's incredible. So she should be in the pantheon along with Elizabeth I.